Welcome to another episode of Prophetic Chronicles, where we chronicle the testimonies of people who have received prophetic words from my ministry, but for others. This episode is going to bless you because this prophetic word that I gave to someone recently in a Sunday service here at Morningstar. Of course, we're a conference center, but we also have a local church, among many other things, a Bible college, a K through 12 school, and on I could go. We even have people living here in the community. But this Sunday, I gave a word to a dear woman who I'd never met, as far as I know, or never spoken to. And today I'm going to get to interview her, and she's going to tell you the good things that the Lord said through that prophetic word, and it's all to bring Him glory. It's to testify that Jesus Christ is alive and that the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Remember, as we often say, the Apostle Paul said, if someone comes in among you who's an unbeliever and they hear you all speak with tongues at the same time, they might think you're mad or crazy. But he said, if one gets up and reveals the secrets of the heart, they'll know of a surety that God is with you of a truth. So let's see if that is the case. We're going to dip into the clip from this service, and you're going to see me call out a word based off of a dream that I had seen someone have regarding Donald Trump. Now, just to give a little bit more background, earlier in that same service, I had recounted the Rebirth of America dream, and which came out in March of 2024, and that is where I had saw in this dream a 9-month period, like like a pregnancy, and a woman conceiving at the time of the eclipse in April of 2024, and then a pre-election event that caused her to almost lose the baby. But I said, the baby, the will of God obviously is for the baby to be born in January. It would have to be in an incubator till July of 2025. But I said specifically, you can go back and see the clip, and I've done several interviews with different Christian news services where I said July the 11th, that date was highlighted to me specifically on the calendar, and that is the date that they have set for former President Trump's sentencing for this. Frankly, I'm going to call it a kangaroo court, to be honest with you. The pile-on nature of the case is in an election year. It's election interference. And unfortunately, we've crossed a line where now we are prosecuting our political opponents. It is discouraging, but you have a reason to be encouraged because God is speaking to people just like this lady, Dr. Tamara Denis-Lewis. And through dreams, the Lord will come in visions. And so let's dip into the service, watch the clip. We'll go to commercial break. And when we come back, you will personally hear from her and she'll testify. I stepped into last night a dream that someone has had. And it was a dream from the Lord, even though you wasn't for sure. But in this dream, and it didn't have to happen last night, but it was recently, you were given an ability to have a meeting with Donald Trump in the dream. And in this dream, you were able to try to tell him, even though that seemed like something was hindering, trying to tell him that not only were you praying for him, but that the dangers that were going to confront and face him, and also that if he would tone down his temperament and choose his battles wisely, something like that. You had a dream where you were able to tell Donald Trump, warning him about the plans of the enemy and what he could do to help him in this next election. This isn't about Trump support or anything. I believe it's a woman. Is there a woman? And it's like, I see you in my mind's eye. It's darker skin. I saw you before I saw you. Hallelujah. How recent was it? A year ago? Wow. Okay.
I had several dreams. One dream in the beginning, I was not, understanding what was happening with Donald Trump. And the Lord woke me up 3 o'clock in the morning. And he said to me, "Are you not supporting him?" Are you not mine? You must pray for him because you belong to me and he belongs to me. And I also had a dream just like you, with 3 of them.
3 of them?
Yes.
Just like I described?
Yes.
Whoa.
And,
now, you've never told me, there's no way I could know this, right?
No.
And you've had 3 of them?
Yes, and several pertaining to my husband, who has been going through a lot of trials. In the dream, we were trusting God for 18 years for his job. He's from another country. Long story short, basically, we entered a room, and it was like beyond our level, economic level. And my husband and I were sitting in the back, and I said, why are we here? We don't know these people. I mean, this is just a rich place, and why are we here? And it was a dinner setting, and Donald Trump came in the front. And he said, we have a great man of God here, and I want him to come up and pray for our dinner before we start. And he called my husband up, and we were in the very back. And my husband came up and prayed for the dinner. And we've been.
So you've had several dreams about
Yes,
Trump.
and last year, my husband finally got the job, the engineering job we had been trusting God for. But anyway, the dream was that God would bring my husband from the back all the way to the front.
And I agree with you on that. Now listen, you mentioned about a dinner in that one dream. If I don't hurry up, these people are going to kill me because they're hungry. But what I saw in the dream, you said it was like I described it 3 times, and then you were sharing those additional ones that you just shared now. Is that correct? Wave your hand if that's true so people can see that. Can you wave? Okay. Merry heart doth good like medicine. I see a merry heart. I see joy of the Lord. There's something relevant about joy for you. And a merry heart. There's something real significant. I keep seeing that flash in front of me. Joy and a merry heart that would be relevant for you, because I sensed there's been a dark, at times like cloud, try to overshadow you, even hindering sleep and hindering peace and anxiety and even depression. And the Lord wants you to know, is this right? Am I making sense? I can't see your face.
It's all true.
It's all true. Yep. Well, I see that being, there's also another health condition that I won't mention because it's a personal thing. But you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not going to say it, but trust me when I tell you, I know what I'm saying. And she does too. It's more of a private, personal thing. I feel like that there is a divine grace coming over you today for deliverance from depression, a restoration of joy, even in your identity, a merry heart, even like that. There's something about joy, even in your identity. I just keep seeing that there's something about joy that you're going to live up to that identity.
Everything you're saying, I am by nature a very jolly and happy person, but I have had this spirit of oppression, like I can't get past it. And I know that everything you're saying is true. From identity thing, the Lord has assigned with you. It's just everything. It's too, I know the service has to close, but everything
the
you're
enemy's
saying.
tried to attack your identity since you were a young girl. Even at times I've seen that happen. But the Lord knows who you are, and he's named you, and he hasn't forgotten you. And you're going to watch and see through the power of this prophetic word, that spirit of heaviness is going to be replaced with the oil of joy for mourning, beauty for ashes, open doors. And instead of a garment of heaviness, you're going to put on a garment of praise. I see the Lord putting a whole new wardrobe on you. I see the Lord doing, that's it. Just receive it right now. Fresh joy is coming, healing for your body, and that one specific personal thing. But also the Lord is fixing things even with your husband. I see, for some reason, I see the number 32. I see that number 32. It's relevant for something. I don't know, 322 2, something like that. Anyway, I don't want to just keep going, but you think about that. All of that is right. I know what I'm telling you is right. And God's going to bring divine intervention for you today and for your family, your husband, and all of that, and open doors and healing for your body in Jesus' name. Let's give the Lord praise all over the room.
Welcome back to Prophetic Chronicles, and it's my great honor today to welcome Dr. Tamara Denis-Lewis.
That's correct.
And thank you for joining me on the set here at Prophetic Chronicles. We're glad to have you.
It's my pleasure.
So, in a meeting like that, I don't know, close to 1,000 people or so there. And it's interesting, you said you shared a couple of dreams, in addition to the one that I specifically described, but I do want to reiterate, I'd asked you, but you dreamed what I described originally, and you said, oh, yes. I think you said 2 or 3 times, but I thought it was interesting in the one dream where you were talking about you and your husband and President Trump came out, and it was like in a wealthy place that you were sitting in the back. And there you were sitting in the very back in that meeting, as people recall watching the clip. So if you will, tell the people to build their faith. This isn't to glorify man, this is to glorify God. But they would love to hear from you. What was the significance of this prophetic word? Not just telling somebody the dream that they had and the interpretation that ultimately God is bringing Donald Trump advisors on how he can navigate this bizarre set of circumstances in. But let's hear from you. Tell us what that word meant to you.
Actually, as I said before, I had 3 dreams and they all built upon each other. The very first dream, I was in a season of really wondering about Donald Trump. And the Lord gave me a dream, and he visited me and he stated to me, Tamara, are you not going to support not support in voting, but are you not going to be on the side of my servant? Are you not my servant? Tamara, you have been called to pray for this man, for I have called him. And he woke me up from my sleep. And it was about 3 a.m. and I walked downstairs and I said, what is this all about? Like, what? I was just so confused. Like, what is the Lord talking about? Like his servant, and, I need to support him. And I had the Bible sitting on the kitchen counter and I'm just flipping through it. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is God saying? And my hand fell to the book of Isaiah chapter 45, 1 through 25.
The Cyrus.
And it was about Cyrus.
Yep.
And I had never really, I've read the whole Bible several times, but I really never paid attention to Cyrus. I had no reference point of him. I just didn't really pay attention. But what stuck out to me was the idea that God had chosen a man in this particular reference that didn't necessarily know him, but he was going to use him to protect his people. And at the very end of this chapter, he goes on to say, like, who are you to tell me who to choose and how to help you? And I came to the point in my heart, like, truly, I have been called to abandon my own thoughts and my own ways and embrace that which God, has called me to. And we are told as the people of God that we are not to lean to our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him.
Yep.
And in the case of President Trump, then the second dream, I'll jump into that. I actually met with Donald Trump in an Oval. I think I've never been in an Oval Office, but I was in one of his presidential offices, and he received me. It seemed like it was an appointment, and I said, from that point, it seemed like the Lord had tenderized my heart for him to see beyond what facade he was presenting. And I said, President Trump, I love you. Like, as fellow New Yorker to New Yorker, because I was raised in New York, I said, I know.
And you probably understand him
yeah,
better
he is just
being from New York.
I said, you're just like brash. We tell it like it is. We just don't have time for the Southern kindness and all that. I said, but you're losing so many people, including the African American people. I said, you need to tone it down. Like,
That's
I love
exactly
you.
what I heard in the dream.
Yeah. And I said, I love you. Like, I literally love you. And the Lord has given me insight on who you are. Like, you're like I didn't tell him this, but in my heart, the Lord had shown me that he was like a gentle giant and that he was really genuine in his cause for America. Like, his delivery is just not appealing. So I said, man, can you just, like, I'm just talking like a New Yorker. I said, just tone it down, like, just bring it down. Like, you would just receive so much more, and I went into detail and I said, it's just like this, like, the Lord just gave me liberty in that meeting. And he listened he was very attentive. He listened to everything I said. And he said, Tamara, I appreciate you.
Wow.
He said, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. No one ever really talks to me like that. And we stood up to walk me out, and he was very kind. He embraced me, very kind. He was not this rude person, like, who are you to tell me? He was not arrogant, very humble. And the very last dream, of course, I shared about my husband.
And by the way, I know people who personally know him, and they have all told me he is not in person like the demeanor that he'll put. Yeah. People forget he was an entertainer before he ran for office. But I think is interesting too is, and I think I mentioned this a little bit Sunday, but I think that some on the left have overplayed their hand with this because, as I mentioned, the pylon cases, where's the crime? They couldn't even really name what the crime was, but then 34 counts. And I don't know if they realize they're actually helping him relate more to the common man. And not only that, but I'm sure you're familiar with this far more than me, but not all, but some people of color have faced more injustice in some places from the justice system more than, Caucasian people. And so I've been looking at the recent polls, and they fluctuate, but he's got right now more than twice the support among blacks that he had in 2020. And it's like 50% of Hispanics are supporting him, and even more and more Caucasian people are supporting him. I think he's poised to win this election. I really do, unless further measures are taken. And I shared this, concern that they don't try to take him out, But I think that is amazing that you got to share with him. If you would just tone it down, if you would, I get it why he comes across with that brash personality to some degree. I get it. It's unappealing. Everybody would like to see more like a Ronald Reagan-esque.
He's not a Southerner.
He's not a Southerner.
And on top of that, he's a very successful man, and he's had to lead, and he's had to hire and fire, and no pun intended, but he's just that gregarious, like, big kind of guy.
Yeah.
On top of that, to be a New Yorker, it doesn't tone it down any.
And his dad was a businessman too.
Yeah, he's a businessman, and I've met many in New York. We're just no nonsense. But to meet a New Yorker who really loves you, they might tell you off, but the love is genuine. It runs deep. Yeah. You get a New Yorker to back you up. And I have no agenda here to try to twist anybody's arm. I love the liberty that my family immigrated to this country to have. But I can honestly tell you that my heart has been truly touched in seeing the man for who he is, from years ago, even before he even went on the platform. I've always loved him as a person, just very straightforward. You don't have to worry about something behind, he puts his own foot in his mouth. He does. He's not even trying to hide anything. It's really kind of sad, but he tells it all. And I think, you can really kind of trust someone like that.
Yeah.
And if you can cut all those ugly pieces that turn you off and get to know him, that word gnosko, really know someone. I have really spent a lot of time in prayer for him.
So,
You know,
that dream has really, the Lord has molded your heart and thinking towards him from this dream. And I said it was from the Lord. I'll say one more statement about that before we move on to the rest of the parts of the prophetic word. But, one of the things that in 2016, when Trump ran the first time, was he learned how to manipulate the media. In other words, he would come out and say the most crazy things and get all of this free coverage. And he was doing it on purpose. He was doing it because I can't believe he said that. Then all these news cameras would be on him, and then he would give a chance to explain his message. Yeah. And then that, obviously that got him, he won the 2016 election, but I think what had happened by the time that 2020 came around, and of course
they used it against him.
They manipulated him. And so he would get some legislation passed that was actually helpful to, like, for instance, black colleges or reforming NAFTA or whatever. And he would hold a press conference.
They wouldn't.
Yeah, what they would do is they would ask him a question on a subject that had nothing to do with some major legislation that was just passed that he signed. They would get him on something totally, left field, and he would get mad, and then he would just tell him off right there on the camera, But anyways, we're praying for him. He's certainly not perfect, but we can't handle 4 more years of the current situation. I mean, no country can sustain this. Are you better off than you are 4 years ago?
Secure.
No, we're not.
Safe.
No.
Our boundaries are open
exactly. So, we also went into the joy. We went into the healing for your body, and also I mentioned there at the very end the number 32. Yeah. Anything else that you would like to share that was meaningful about?
Everything was meaningful. The number 32. Quickly, I kept saying, "Is it my husband?" Blah blah blah, and then the Lord was like, "Tamara, remember, you purchased your first home at the age of 32, and my bank PIN number is 32. I'm not trying to tell everyone my business, but yeah.
You can change it after this program.
Yeah, I will change it. I've already changed it. So, but yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. You already changed it.
Yeah. So, and then the apparel thing, I went through a season where I was in so much darkness that I would sleep under my bed. I was in so much pain that bed was not low enough to go. And I can't even tell you if I was in the body or not. I can't even tell. It was so real and vivid. The Lord visited me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And in one of his visitations, he took me, and when he would visit me, he would just tell me stories, like fairy tale type of story, like consoling me, holding me. And in one of the visitations, he took me for a walk. And, during the walk, we're on a dusty road, and I'll make it quick. But we're walking through this dusty road, and I'm like a little girl walking by his side. And very far, like as we're walking, very high, we see this palace, and we're walking towards this palace. We get to the door, and there's a servant that greets us at the door with dresses on her arms. And she's like, "Right on time, come on in. It's time to change your apparel." And she takes me wherever, and she changes my apparel. And I'm just looking at this dress, like, why am I here? This is so beautiful. And I'm sitting at the edge of the bed, and this big bell starts ringing, ding, dong, ding, dong. "Tamara, it's time to change your apparel once more." I said, "Well, I like this dress. I don't want to change it. I like the socks." She begins to peel the dresses, the socks off, the dress off, and change me. Just every hour we need to change, every hour in the hour. And Jesus returns. I said, "Jesus, why do I have to change every hour on the hour? I'm just getting used to this dress." And he's like, "Tamara, my greatest design is change."
Wow.
And so that was...
it's interesting in the prophetic word. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I thought of something. Remember how I said the garment of heaviness is going to be exchanged for a garment of praise when I gave you the prophetic word? Yeah. And just a new wardrobe, so to speak. Then the number 32, you said when you bought your house at the age of 32, then your bank PIN, those numbers, it feels like a financial blessing. It's tied to a bank PIN and all of that. And then the joy of the Lord, which you talked about, the the dark season. And it thrilled my heart when I went back and shared the video. They clipped out the video of me giving that prophetic word and put it up on the Chris Reed Ministries YouTube channel. And it went viral. And it was
I
just...
wonder why,
Because I think people, I've learned, millennials especially, they're authentically looking for something that was real. They saw your reaction. They saw you spinning, dancing in circles. They saw you weeping as the things that the Lord was showing me. And as I see, I say. As I see, I say. And I didn't know what I was going to say before I started talking to you. It was just straight prophetic right there. And I know that people, they're hungry for the miraculous. They want to see the supernatural and they want to believe it's real, but then you know how the mind of man works. We try to convince it, well, that could have been this way, it could have been that way. And in all reality, we had never spoken. I couldn't know those things about you. They're not public information things, but your testimony here is inspiring somebody who out there is watching right now. You're discouraged. We want you to put on the garment of praise, the oil of joy, to be free in Jesus' name, because just like what God has done for Dr. Tamara, He can do for you. And so I ask you, Father, bless them in the name of Jesus, every viewer. And Dr. Tamara, thank you for joining me today. It has been a pleasure to get to talk with you the first time. And if you want to attend any of our conferences, visit mstarevents.com. There's a link below. If you want to sow into this ministry so more programs like this can be available, we would appreciate it. Until next time, this is Chris Reed from Morningstar Ministries. God bless you. Thanks for joining Prophetic Chronicles. Hi, this is Chris Reed, and I want to tell you about my new book that's come out entitled The 7 Spirits of God, Experiencing Throne Room Realities. And I tell you, people are reading this and we're getting reports of them having encounters with God, dreams, visions, growing in the realm of the supernatural. You can order your copy today at morningstarministries.org. That helps us. Many people just go to Amazon, but if you'll order from Morningstar, that'll bless us. God bless you.
Thank you for watching Prophetic Chronicles with Chris Reed. We hope you've enjoyed seeing and hearing how the Holy Spirit is impacting people's lives today in tangible, supernatural ways. This show was produced by Morningstar Ministries in Fort Mill, South Carolina. Please come visit Morningstar Fellowship Church on the old PTL Heritage USA grounds in beautiful Fort Mill, South Carolina. Or write us at Heritage International Ministries, 375 Starlight Drive, Fort Mill, South Carolina, 29715. Also, check out our Morningstar conferences and online store at morningstarministries.org. Follow our Morningstar Ministries page on Facebook or call us at 1-800-542-0278. Thank you for watching, and please join us again soon for more supernatural ministry with Chris Reed on Prophetic Chronicles.